I am heavy weapons guy. And this is my weapon.
The heavy weapons guy. Real name, Mikhail. Job, mow down. Being possibly one of the most dangerous members of the Team Fortress group of mercenaries, having the biggest build and the biggest guns to back it up. The heavy's role is probably the simplest among the mercs, to take down as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time, while also tanking the most damage while doing so. Despite being such a dangerous mercenary, one whose hit list you certainly do not want to be on, he's actually a somewhat gentle giant when off the battlefield. I'm not kidding. Despite what all those fan videos might make you think, Mikhail was one of the most calm and composed members of the mercenary team, not to mention one of the most intelligent. The big guy actually has a PhD in Russian literature, so he's actually more of a doctor than the medic is, ironically enough, considering that the medic lost his medical license. Anyways, the heavy when coming to Smash would be pretty straightforward, mechanically feeling just like he does in his own game, being a fairly bulky character that moves slow, but hits hard. Heavy would be a super heavyweight character, because of course, he'd have 2 jumps and no additional movement options. So while the heavy does have a fair amount of dangerous firepower, I'll be saving them for his special attacks. So for his basic attacks, he will be solely relying on close quarters combat, with large reliance on his main melee weapon, his own fists. Now melee combat in TF2 is fairly shallow, not bringing enough to the table to really fill out an entire moveset, so I did need to do a lot of innovation for the heavy. So while researching, I decided to have the heavy use martial arts that he would most likely know, and I actually found that giving him 2 styles of Russian martial arts ended up being the most appropriate. And not just because he himself is Russian, but because they actually do fit with Heavy's personality. The first is Sistema, a Russian combat style that focuses less on physical strength and more on controlling your opponent's body through critical hits and precise movements while keeping a cool head. The moves of Sistema also become more effective by putting your whole body weight into your strikes to increase its effectiveness, while at the same time using attacks with the intent of throwing your opponent off balance to make it that much harder for them to fight back. And the final thing that most users of Sistema work to do is toughen up their body, training to be able to tank any kind of blow so that if you do get hit, it won't break your concentration. Considering the fact that the heavy is cool-headed, bulky, and is known for tanking hits, this style just makes so much sense for him. So while it doesn't necessarily require brute strength to be effective, having that strength wouldn't hurt by any means, making the heavy all the scarier when using Sistema to easily take his foes down. The other style is known as Sambo, which is short for a word that I'm not even going to attempt to say out loud because I know I'm going to butcher it. Sambo is a style that focuses on submissions to take your opponents down, and combine this with Sistema's style of throwing your opponent off balance makes it that much more effective. The heavy using Sambo makes so much sense considering the fact that for Smash, heavyweight characters are known for being some of the scariest grapplers in the roster, and using the Sambo style of fighting, the heavy would be no different. So with all of that explained, let's get right into the heavy's attacks, with his jab being the most recognizable. It would just be a 2-hit semi-flammable jab that would have him give the old 1-2 with each arm one at a time, just like we see him do when using his normal melee attack in TF2. His dash attack could be a short, lunging, close-lighting hook. It wouldn't have a whole lot of forwards momentum, but it would actually be a unique dash attack that could launch foes backwards if it connects properly. His side tilt would be a simple horizontal swinging hook punch forwards, a bit slow to start, but it hits hard, and does slightly move the heavy forwards as he puts all of his weight into the attack. So as such, while his arm would deal heavy damage, his whole body would actually act as a hitbox, but it wouldn't hurt as much as his arm would. The up tilt would be a semi-quick uppercut, referencing the uppercut that the heavy uses if he ever gets a critical hit while using his fists. It would hit slightly above in front while also hitting directly above. Heavy's down tilt could be a quick low to the ground sweep kick. It wouldn't have a whole lot of range, but it would have a chance to trip foes if hit at the right angle, allowing for easy follow-ups. The heavy side smash would be a powerful straightforward punch while he wears his killing gloves of boxing. It would be slow, but it would hurt. His up smash would be a simple punch straight upwards, another move that would hit hard, but really would only be able to hit foes directly above heavy. His down smash would actually be one that can only hit in front, not behind. He'd do a double hammer punch forward, smashing the ground. It wouldn't have as much range or power as his side smash, but it would be a little faster and would actually be able to bury opponents if it properly lands. I made it only be able to hit in front since generally when playing TF2, Heavy is dangerous to face head on, but he does have a glaring weakness to attacks from behind, as he does turn a little slower than the other mercs, and being so big makes him a prime target for a spy's butterfly knife. His job is to defend his teammates behind him with his huge hulking frame, and as such, he needs to rely on them to support him and watch his flank. Anyways, getting into the aerials, the neutral air can have the Heavy do a spinning lariat. He'd spin 3 times, but it'd launch foes upon contacts would really only be able to hit once, and it would only be able to hit horizontally, not vertically. His forward air could be a simple straightforwards punch, the back air could be a quick horizontal clothesline punch swinging backwards, the up air could be a quick clap with both hands straight up above his head. This move would have his hands start at his side, so it would cover a lot of space over himself, and the down air would be a simple stomp downwards with a single foot, which of course would be capable of spiking if it sweet spots. Now for some of the Heavy's scariest moves, his grabs. He'd grab with both hands and would pummel by headbutting. His forward throw could have him lift the foe over his shoulder, then slam them into the ground in front, bouncing the foe into the air forwards. His back throw can have him flip the foe over his knee and slam them into the ground to bounce them into the air backwards. The up throw can have him lift the foe up and then break their back over one of his shoulders, causing them to fly into the air. And the down throw can have the Heavy break their back over his knee, greatly popping their back while also slightly popping them into the air. Now for the special attacks, here's what you guys have been waiting for. Guns, guns, and more guns. For his neutral special, he'll use his primary weapon, Sasha, the minigun. You'll need to hold down the special button to make this work. When you do, Heavy will pull out Sasha and begin to fire her straight forwards. It will have a bit of start lag before it starts to fire, just like there is when you need to ready your miniguns before firing them in TF2. The gun will shoot a massive amount of bullets that spread out the further they fly, and this gun will have insane range, going about as far as Robin's Thoron special to give a comparison. Each bullet deals individually scaled damage based on the further out they go, with it dealing less damage the further out, but a lot of damage when closer to point blank. Each bullet's knockback also scales as well, with them dealing small flinching damage when closer, but won't deal any knockback when further away. But as such, getting caught in the Gatling fire generally will just slowly push the caught foe away if they were close enough. You can also slowly change the direction that the minigun is firing by pointing up or down on the control stick as it fires, but the direction can only go so far. It can't go straight up or down. Also, you'll be unable to turn around while firing. You will be locked into the direction you're facing until you let go of the special button. You'll only be able to have the minigun fire for $133,333 worth of bullets at a time, or for those who didn't get that reference, 4 seconds before being forced to cool down. And there generally will be a bit of end lag once the special button is let go, and even more so if you force it to go for the whole 4 seconds. The final thing I should mention is that the bullets will not count as projectiles, so they cannot be reflected, but they also deal very little shield damage, so if it's shielded, generally you'll be able to keep your shield up against it safely until the Heavy is forced to cool down, so long as your shield wasn't too small to begin with, that is. For the Heavy side special, he'll use his shotgun, firing off a single blast from it as soon as it's used. It will only fire 1 shot at a time, but you can fire them a little more quickly by pressing the side special over and over again to have the Heavy fire it consecutively. The blast from the shotgun itself works as a faster but much shorter ranged version of the minigun. Like any shotgun, the blast spreads out the farther it goes, but it doesn't really go that far. The damage it deals scales based on how close the foe is to the shotgun, with it pretty much dealing small flinching damage when hit at the maximum reach, but dealing a lot of hurt when shot at point blank range, with a high amount of damage and knockback. Getting shot from it at point blank range also deals a lot of shield damage, so you'd best not stick around for too long with your shield out when you see that boomstick staring you in the face. Now for the Heavy's up special, it could just be a simple rising uppercut jump, in reference to the uppercut that he does when he crits with his fists once again. It doesn't go very high, but it does hit hard, being at its strongest if it connects with the foe at the very beginning of the uppercut, just like how uppercuts generally work in Smash. And finally, for his down special, this will have the Heavy take a snack break. The Heavy is the only Merc class in TF2 that eats food as a secondary weapon, with the different kinds of snacks having differing effects for the Heavy depending on what he eats. And that's what he'll do for his down special in Smash. He'll be able to snack on 1 out of 3 different kinds of food, but which one he pulls out is completely random. It'll also take him a full 5 seconds to be able to scarf it all down to gain its effects. But if he's interrupted at any point while he's eating, however, he'll drop it on the ground, and it'll become a food item that anybody can pick up and eat. If the food is picked up and eaten this way, even if the Heavy that dropped it picks it up, they'll automatically eat it, but they'll only gain half of the effects that the food item would have given if the Heavy ate it uninterrupted. Now as for what the food items are, the first can be his favorite meal, the ever iconic sandwich. The sandwich is pretty straightforward. It heals an automatic 30% of damage if eaten uninterrupted, and only 15% of damage if eaten off the ground. The next is Delico's Bar. This item only heals 5% of damage, however it'll give a 10-second long regen effect to the Heavy that'll heal 15% of damage over the course of 10 seconds. If eaten off the ground, however, it'll only heal 2.5% of damage and give its consumer a 5-second long regen effect that only heals 7.5% of damage. And the final item that can be pulled can be the Buffalo Steak Sandwich, which won't actually heal, but will instead buff. Hello. It'll give the Heavy 2 different effects that'll last for 15 seconds when eaten uninterrupted, and 7.5 seconds when eaten off the ground. The first effect will be a simple speed boost, increasing his running and jumping speed, but will slightly increase the distance he can be launched. As for the other effect, this will actually get into the Heavy's gimmick. Heavy has a random chance to crit. Yep. Just like the hero's smash attacks. Except for every single one of his moves. Don't worry, it's not as broken as Heroes is. Kinda. Unlike Heroes, this only increases the amount of damage the attack deals, not its launch power. And unlike the crits in TF2, which deal 3 times the amount of normal damage, for Smash it'll only deal double damage. Every single one of Heavy's individual attacks have a 2% chance to crit. So if you are going to get hit by a crit, you best hope that it's one of his weaker attacks and not any of his stronger ones. Now as for what I was talking about regarding the Buffalo Steak Sandwich, during those 15 or 7.5 seconds, along with the speed boost, its consumer will also gain a higher crit rate, increasing to a 5% chance. And this doesn't just apply to the Heavy, by the way. This can also apply to any character if they manage to grab the steak if they can get the Heavy to drop it, making it so that all of their attacks have a chance to crit until the effects wear off. I should also mention real quick that the steak sandwich does have one more effect that forces the eater to only be able to use melee weapons in TF2, but we're just going to omit that for Smash. Now with all that said, some of Heavy's other attacks actually will have a naturally higher chance to crit compared to his other attacks. His side smash using his killing gloves of boxing actually has a natural 5% chance to crit, turning it into a 10% chance when under the effects of the steak. His side special with the shotgun has an 8% chance to crit, with that jumping up to 15 under the steak's effects. And finally, his up special uppercut has a natural 12% chance to crit, with that jumping up to 20% under the steak's effects, potentially turning his up special into one of his most consistent moves to deal a lot of damage if you're lucky enough.
Are you sure this will work?
I have no idea!
For the Heavy's final smash, he'd gain some support from his best bro, the Medic, and would be amped up with an uber charge. This final smash would act as a makeshift type of laser final smash like Samus or Inklings, except instead of a laser, he'd fire his minigun, shooting a barrage of bullets for 5 seconds that all deal big damage and knockback, slowly pushing foes away and ending with a large amount of knockback to get that final KO. Obviously, Heavy and Medic are invincible during this smash, as they are in an uber charge, and the smash can be slightly angled as it's fired. For the Heavy's colors, his default would have him in the colors of red, based off the red team hired by Redmond Man, and is seen as the main color team based off the box art and such. And the next color, of course, will have him in the other main color, blue, based off the blue team hired by the second Man brother, Lutark. Now getting into original colors, here's a gray color scheme based off the third Man brother, Gray Man. Here's a purple color based off the outfits worn by the administrator and announcer of the matches, Helen, as well as her assistant, Miss Pauling. Next is a yellow color, then a green color, then a black color. And finally, we can have an alternate costume where we play as the Robo Heavy from Man vs. Machine. Now with all of those listed, I can already hear all of you behind your screens. Where are the hats? Hats are the most important part of Team Fortress 2! Why don't these costumes have any hats? And my retort to that? I know! I just don't know what hat can go with what outfit. I suppose it really doesn't matter, and he can go with any. Personally, I'd like it if there were some way to be able to have any hat, preferably the Heavy specific hats, to be able to go with any costume you'd like. I'm sure there's a way to do it. Now, whether or not they'd actually do it, I don't know. I'm sure that hats would be included with alternate costumes, I just can't think of any good combinations is all. Anyways, for the stage intro, it can show the Heavy parachuting down to the ground, as if he just jumped out of a plane or something to get ready for his mission. For his taunts, oh boy, was this easy, as TF2 is literally filled to the brim with taunts. For Smash though, I'll just make his 3 taunts his 3 default ones for now. His first taunt could have him pull out Sasha, give her a big hug, and say,
Kiss me.
He does this if you taunt while equipped with the minigun. His next could have him spin his shotgun on his finger, put it on his shoulder, and then give the cutthroat gesture. For this, he would say,
All of you are dead!
Unless he's doing a one-on-one. If he is, he'd say,
You, yes, you are dead!
This would be his shotgun taunt, obviously. And his final taunt can be the taunt that he uses while only using his fists, the Showdown taunt. A taunt where he readies himself for a quick draw showdown like people used to do in the Old West, and then does a finger bang forwards while shouting,
Pow! Ha ha!
Now this taunt was unique in TF2, because if there was somebody actually in the line of sight of Heavy's finger as soon as he finger shoots them, it will actually kill them, as if he shot an invisible bullet out of his finger. So for Smash, it's only appropriate that it do the same thing here. Well, maybe not the killing part, it'll just do a lot of damage. It can even crit. But unlike in TF2, it actually won't go that far, only going a little bit of distance away from where Heavy is standing. And also for kicks, if you could actually land this taunt kill, it would automatically break shields, as a punishment for anyone who actually lets themselves get hit by it. Because honestly, there's no excuse for you to get hit by it with the large amount of startup that it has. In any which case, finally, for the victory animations, the first can have the Heavy do the Kazatsky kick and then end on a pose. The next can make reference to the end of the Meet the Heavy video, where he walks up continuously firing his minigun while shouting,
Wah! Wah! Cry some more!
And the final can show Heavy with the Medic giving each other a high five, then put their arms around each other's shoulders as the Heavy flexes with his other arm and says,
We're my good team!
And that does it for Mikhail, the heavy weapons guy from Team Fortress 2. Team Fortress 2 took the PC world by storm, and honestly I'm amazed that it's still going strong and being updated to this very day. Not many other games can say that they've had such an impressive lifespan, and one that's left such a lasting impression as well. And with the Heavy being the poster boy of such a game, it's no wonder that people want to see him included in the celebration of video games itself. Heavy would definitely be the Heavy to beat all Heavies, and he'd be a lot of fun to play while doing so. Anyways, if you liked what you saw and would like to see even more characters be given possible Smash movesets, be sure to subscribe. And if you'd like to support the show and help me be able to make more content for you guys while also getting some perks for doing so, you can click the join button either below the video or on my main page to become a member of my channel. I'd really appreciate anything that can be contributed. And of course, if you have a character that you'd like to see be given a possible Smash moveset, leave a comment down below, or contact me on Twitter at BrawlFan1 on Twit. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching!